events which promote community connections, regional enhancements, community celebrations and community education. For more information on the Community Investment Program, visit gladstone.qld.gov.au. Gladstone Regional Council. Connect, innovate, diversify. Gladstone Regional Council are committed to fostering a proud, involved and engaged community. The Gladstone Regional Council Community Investment Program provides financial support to local community initiatives, projects and events which promote community connections, regional enhancements, community celebrations and community education. For more information on the Community Investment Program, visit gladstone.qld.gov.au. Gladstone Regional Council. Connect, innovate, diversify. Gladstone Regional Council are committed to fostering a proud, involved and engaged community. The Gladstone Regional Council Community Investment Program provides financial support to local community initiatives, projects and events which promote community connections, regional enhancements, community celebrations and community education. For more information on the Community Investment Program, visit gladstone.qld.gov.au. Gladstone Regional Council. Connect, innovate, diversify. Gladstone Regional Council are committed to fostering a proud, involved and engaged community. The Gladstone Regional Council Community Investment Program provides financial support to local community initiatives, projects and events which promote community connections, regional enhancements, community celebrations and community education. For more information on the Community Investment Program, visit gladstone.qld.gov.au. Gladstone Regional Council. Connect, innovate, diversify. Gladstone Regional Council are committed to fostering a proud, involved and engaged community. The Gladstone Regional Council Community Investment Program provides financial support to local community initiatives, projects and events which promote community connections, regional enhancements, community celebrations and community education. For more information on the Community Investment Program, visit gladstone.qld.gov.au. Gladstone Regional Council. Connect, innovate, diversify. Gladstone Regional Council are committed to fostering a proud...
I declare open the general meeting for the Gladstone Regional Council for the 15th of December 2020. No apologies. We'll move to the next item on the agenda, which is messages of condolence. Councillors, any messages of condolence? No messages of condolence. The next item on the agenda is prior notifications of MPIs and conflicts of interest. We don't have any registered. Councillors, would anyone like to raise any now? Councillor Trevor.
Thanks, Mayor. On reading my agenda, I noticed that there was mention of the Agnes Water car park in item G 4.4. Obviously, if that becomes a matter of discussion, I will leave the room.
Thank you. We'll see how that proceeds when we get to that item. Any other conflicts, councillors? No other conflicts. We'll move to the next item on the agenda, which is a mayoral statement on current issues. And I'd just like to remind everyone in the Gladstone region, of course, with cyclone season upon us right now, that it's not a matter of if, but when. We have another weather event in the Gladstone region. Obviously, we've dealt with cyclones and bushfires and floods and plenty of weather events in the last few years, but certainly the Bureau of Meteorology are predicting significant rainfall for the Gladstone region over the next few months, particularly in the summer season. So obviously we want everyone to stay safe, and we know the saying, if it's flooded, forget it. But please, if you haven't already, log on to Gladstone Regional Council's Region Watch. That's regionwatch.gladstone.qld.gov.au, and they'll keep you up to date with all the information on what's happening in our region at the time. Now, also, we've got our Gladstone Aquatic Centre, is our play park is being upgraded. Thank you to Kylie and the team, and they're calling for community submissions or information on that. So, for if you want to have your vote or your say on what the new play park should look like, please jump on the conversations platform on Gladstone Regional Council's website and have your say on what you think what the new upgrade to our splash zone should look like at the Aquatic Centre. I've got no other items for the Mayor's statement, so we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the current confirmation of the minutes of the 1st of December 2020. Councillors, do I have a mover, please? Thank you. Move, Councillor Trevor, second, Councillor Churchill. Is there any business arising? No business arising. I move all in favour. That's carried. True and correct. We have two deputations this morning, one from the Christian Leaders Network, and thank you, Jared and team, and also from the Central Queensland University. And Jared is going to talk about Movement Day, and then also, as we usually do with our council at the start of the term, unfortunately COVID hasn't allowed that to happen, is the Christian Leaders Network do a blessing of the council, and I'll throw to Jared to hand over and talk a bit about Movement Day, and then I'll leave that in your hands. Thank you, Jared.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everybody, for inviting us and having us here to share about Movement Day. Bit nervous, bit out of my pay grade today. No, it's good. It's good to be challenged. But look, I believe we are all challenged by the brokenness and the pain in our city. On the surface, we see a vibrant, fruitful and beautiful city. But sometimes underneath the cosmetics, that there is a harsh reality that families and community continue to deteriorate in somewhat. And there is no end to the statistics that show that. However, how good it is to receive good news of the gospel. how good it is to receive any good news of any person or family overcoming mountains and hardships. Movement Day is about following the mandate or manifesto that has been placed on every believer and church leaders and pastors, and how Jesus lived as an example for us to follow. That is summed up in Isaiah 61. I don't have the time to read that today, but the task of the church is this: not only to preach the good news, but rebuild, raise up and repair cities, ruined cities. I believe that is the same mandate that this council believes in, that you have for this city of Gladstone, is to see it rebuilt and to flourish spiritually and socially. However, have you ever thought about Gladstone without drugs, without suicide, without poverty or domestic violence? You know, it's a thought that I cherish and I think towards a lot. What would it be like to lower those statistics? And how can we do that? Is this even achievable? I say yes, it is. The reality is Movement Day has been a proven strategy in many other cities who have done just that, transformed their cities through the gospel for the better. How is this accomplished? Our vision is simple. We want to see our city of Gladstone flourishing spiritually and socially. This will only happen when the leaders are effectively catalysed by God to impact their city spiritually and socially. Our methodology is rigorous research, united prayer and powerful collaboration. So working with key stakeholders, non-Christian and non-church going key stakeholders and community organisations, virtually coming outside of the box. I believe the church has been too much concerned about themselves, and I've been challenged by this myself as a pastor for the last 10 years. We concentrate on our own flock, our own people, and Movement Day has really opened and broadened my understanding about how important the church is in community and why they are there. The aim is easy, is for our city to host a yearly Movement Day gathering over the next few years. This event becomes a place for the whole body of Christ and community to meet and gather in unity, understand future visions, collaborations, sharing and networking, deeper partnerships, and empower Christians and one another in the workplace. This event can be the catalyst for inspiration, goal setting and partnerships. Movement Day is about serving our community. Our motto is to lead is to serve is to lead.
Okay, all right.
Servant leadership is cultivating a culture of trust, values diverse options, acts to see God's kingdom expand, develops and empowers others, motivated by heart of humility and thinking long term. How can the council help, you may ask? The question I ask is, how can we help you? We're here to serve. And Movement Day is about serving our community and working with others to attack or to take on those issues that are much needed. I have a saying, money can't touch the soul. Only God can touch the soul. And we want to help, and Movement Day is about that. So thank you for your time. Any questions? Oh, I do have some examples, if I've got some time for examples, yes.
You do, and do you have a date for Movement Day for next year yet?
We have not set a date for Movement Day yet. We are in the process of organising that and having a small event for next year. Obviously, it's all on about COVID. If it's going to depend on where we are with COVID-19 and the regulations. And yeah, so if we can get a venue as well to hold such an event. We are in discussion about that. Again, we're only at the beginning stages of developing Movement Day as a whole, and but we look forward to working with you guys in collaboration and just being there, even for prayer, whatever. And the GRCLN, Ian can speak for them, for us as a whole, but it's about the church. It's not just me, it's not just Emmanuel Fellowship, it's a combined thing that we want to encourage. It's unification in the body of Christ. So I'll just share a couple of examples of what can be achieved. As I said before, that Movement Day is a proven event across over 100 and something cities. Movement Day has been operating for over 10 years. So, for example, Toowoomba. So this was written in 2018, so only 2 years ago, published. Toowoomba's Mayor Paul Antonio has partnered with a City Free from Porn, a ministry of Toowoomba's Christian Leaders Network, to run the Mayor's City Free from Porn rally, which has gained international media attention. The Gold Coast Mayor, Tom Tate, was recently baptised by pastors representing the Church of the Gold Coast at a recent Easter combined service. This church service attracted about 3,500 people from over 70 churches. Inverell. Last year at the National Gathering in Sydney, a story was shown from Inverell, New South Wales. You can watch this on Vimeo, where the Unity Movement of Inverell approached their council and discovered grievances between council and churches that were more than 20 years old. During that time, Pastor Phil Weideman, one of the Unity leaders in Inverell, said how important it was that the churches approach their civic authority as a unified group. By going together, they were able to deal with the issues and repent on behalf of all churches involved. A strong relationship now exists between the church and the civic authorities of Inverell. So there's a lot of great testimonies of what Movement Day can and how it will impact a community, you know. And again, it's just about being open and honest and building trust and working together, you know, and sharing the gospel and just loving one another. I guess love is the key in all we do. Okay, so look, thank you very much for your time. Any other questions? Any questions before I hand it over to Pastor Ian? Nothing too hard.
I've never known you to be shy, Jared, especially on the basketball court.
Thanks, Rick.
Seems like none. We'll hand over to Ian.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just got to pray a blessing over our councillors, but also the entire council workers as well. Let's pray. Today, Lord Jesus, we come to pray for our Mayor Matt, Deputy Mayor Kane, and other councillors, Desley, Natalie, Rick, Trevor, Daryl, Chris, Gwen, and indeed the staff of Gladstone Regional Council. They are appointed to be servant leaders, and so we thank you for their love for this region and their passion for the enormous responsibilities set before them. Thank you for the way they give of themselves each day, serving and sharing, reading and listening, giving and receiving to the people of Gladstone and beyond. We thank you for them all. And may they raise their eyes towards you as they strive to influence and chart the course of the social and economic fabric of this region. In particular, I pray that you might grant them wisdom to govern amid the conflicting interests and issues, a sense of the welfare and the true needs of our people, a keen thirst for justice and rightness, a confidence in what is good and fitting, the ability to work together in harmony even when there is honest disagreement, and personal peace in their lives and joy in their tasks. Fill them with your wisdom so that they may be able to make good judgments when planning, leading, serving and making decisions. Fill them with your strength so they are sustained when they give everything yet feel inadequate or undervalued. Enable rest in times of exhaustion. Fill them with your compassion so they feel the pain and the struggle of their constituents. Fill them with your peace so when stress and anxiety come, it would not overwhelm them. Fill them with your joy so the passion they have for the well-being of this region is contagious. I pray for the agenda set before the council today. Please give them assurance of what would please you and what would benefit those who live and work in and around our beloved Gladstone region. And I pray this from my heart and in the name of Jesus. Amen. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Council.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you, Jared. Councillors, I think we might move to our next deputation, but thank you very much for coming in and sharing that, and thank you very much for the blessing of the council. For those watching online, normally that would have happened a lot earlier in the term, but obviously COVID hasn't allowed it to, but we thank you very much. We might ask Tanya if we can ask the university to come in.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas. Well, good morning, Linda, Luke and Rob. Thank you for being here this morning. Obviously, we're live streamed, so I will hand over to you shortly, but thank you for being here. You're talking about our mid-REAP program. So for those who are online and don't understand, I'm sure you're going to give them an excellent explanation of how that all goes. And thank you for being here this morning. Over to you.
Thank you very much. Mayor, thank you, councillors, for having us today. We're here to talk about the MIT REAP program, or Gladstone Connects. So the MIT REAP stands for MIT's Massachusetts Institute of Technology in the US, so the #1 ranked university in the world. And REAP stands for Regional Entrepreneur Accelerator Program. It's a global program. It's across all different countries around the world. And we are part of the Australian group, which is Queensland Connects. It's been funded by the Queensland Government. It's a partnership with QUT, Queensland University of Technology in Brisbane, and MIT in the US. There are 3 regional Queensland teams. There is Gladstone, Mackay and Toowoomba. Each team has identified a must-win battle, which I'll speak about in a minute, what ours is. And each team across the world has 5 stakeholder groups, and the 5 groups are entrepreneurs, risk capital, corporate or industry, government and university. So every REAP team across the world has those 5 stakeholder groups as part of their team. So the next slide. So in the Gladstone Connects team, we have representatives from each of those 5 groups. And I won't read them all out, but you can have a look. There is a list of the members of the Gladstone Connects team there. So we have representatives from each of those 5 stakeholder groups. Now, the must-win battle that has been developed for the Gladstone Connects team is supporting innovation-driven entrepreneurship, which diversifies the regional economy away from reliance on big industry. So what that means is that the Gladstone Connects team is working together to try and smooth out the peaks and troughs of the past of industrial development and prepare for the energy, resource and hydrogen fuel sector that is coming to Gladstone. So that's why we have 5 different stakeholder groups, so we can bring in the diversity and try and prepare the local community for what's coming from the industrial side of things. What we're doing as part of that group is we have funding until about July next year from the Queensland Government, and what we have done is we started in July this year with collecting some data, so baseline data to look at the sector, the ecosystem they call it, at the moment in Gladstone. So we've collected some data, we've conducted interviews, and we have tabled a report which was attached to the agenda today that GEA prepared. We did a launch event in October, which was basically networking and trying to bring together key stakeholder groups and influencers. We presented the report and we presented our 2021 schedule. So next year we're going to do a number of workshops to try and improve the ecosystem and prepare the community for what's coming ahead. So workshop 1 will be between January and March next year. We're calling it What Keeps Me Up at Night. So what we did at the launch is we asked people what keeps them up at night, what sort of problems do they have and issues that need to be solved. And we identified those issues, and we put them into categories under education, social, industrial, business, etc. And we're going to run a workshop and get people together to try and solve some of those issues. Workshop 2 is called Boots on the Ground. We're going to look at shortening the supply and activating manufacturing. So we're going to be asking the big industries to bring along products that they import, and we'll have local SMEs and engineering businesses to come along and have a look at how they might be able to produce those or manufacture those locally. And workshop 3 will be around tourism, industrial, Indigenous and natural tourism, to try and bring people to the town of Gladstone so that we can, again, as a whole community, prepare for what's coming in the energy resource space. At the end of next year, we'll have another network event and a report on how successful our workshops have been. And that's pretty much the whole program.
Nice work. Well done. That's a very succinct way of explaining something that we've been working on for about 3 years. Thank you very much. Councillors, questions for Linda, Luke or Rob? Councillor O'Grady, then Councillor Churchill.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Linda, I was just wondering if funding runs out in mid-year, so how are you to anticipate to move forward with this?
Fantastic question. So with the MIT REAP program across the world, that's one of the aspects that every group has sort of wrestled with, is how do you create a sustainable solution? And one of them, there's a great example in Nova Scotia, where they've set up what they call a backbone organisation. So it might be a not-for-profit, and then they start to look at how do they get 3-year and 5-year funding cycles, and then from those 5 stakeholders start to branch out. So those workshops we kind of see as that's the seed that we're trying to plant, and then move forward into what that backbone organisation is.
Councillor Churchill, and good luck.
Yeah, thanks for that, Matt. I think Desley was probably pertinent to my question. It's about the sustainability of it. We see these types of projects come and go over a period of time, or more so, I suppose, meeting the demand of what's going on in our local economic environment. And Gary, I would, through you, Madam CEO, I would imagine that Gary Scanlon, albeit someone from the Gladstone Regional Council, is participating in it. Other than our advocacy and our support, what else do you need from the Gladstone Regional Council? Because the key, and we've had a presentation recently that Gary had organised from an economic perspective, and it seems quite evident that in amongst all this, the international market or the international trends and the data is driving certain changes, as we would see every day when we wake up. So I'm just trying to understand, while you're Gladstonising this, how do we incorporate what will and what is occurring in the international market in your I suppose, your brainstorming or your thinking?
I think that's the beauty of adopting an existing framework. So from MIT, so they've shown countries across the world or cities across the world where it's worked well and why it's worked well, and where it hasn't worked well. So essentially where it's worked well is where those 5 groups really do come together, and they're open and transparent and talk about, well, what's going to help us as an individual or as a SME or as a university, but at the same time, how is that going to help the region that we operate in? So that openness and transparency is absolutely key.
Thanks for that answer, Luke. I'm pleased that you mentioned it, because I've seen the presentation now and it's Gladstone, 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 but you've mentioned the word region, which is appropriately what we're here for, which is the entire region, not just the city of Gladstone. So thank you.
Councillor Goodluck.
Thanks, Mr Mayor, and thank you for the presentation. I think I welcome and applaud any efforts in this space. Where the Gladstone region, we've got a strong and vibrant economy, but if you look at only in the last 24 hours, I think the Chinese have frozen $14 billion worth of coal exports, and coal is obviously an important part and factor in our local economy. So any efforts to try and assist in this diversification and locking in a future sustainable economy for our region is great to see. And I acknowledge the contribution from Mayor Matt on your team, and also Gary Scanlon, who I believe his title is Economic Development Specialist, but I see here under your team member description he's got Government Data Rockstar. So I think we might have to change Gary's job title, because I like that, data rockstar. That's awesome. But
as long as there's no more pay.
Rick.
Rock stars deserve every cent they get, Councillor Hanson.
I think Gary should get a right of reply on that at some stage.
Thank you, Councillor. Like, I refer to myself as the data busker rather than the rock star. I think that's a more appropriate title with my contribution and skill set.
Nothing wrong with a bit of busking, Gary. But thank you very much. I love the work that you're doing, and I look forward to seeing some of the outcomes. Thank you.
Councillors, officers, any other questions? Councillor O'Grady, yeah.
Sorry, I just wanted to thank you for, with the launch, it was just amazing actually, and talking to the people at the launch, it was just incredible to hear so many different, give people's inputs, I suppose, but yeah, it was just amazing, and trying all those different effects and whatever else they had around the room, so, and I wasn't jumping off the building. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Linda, Luke and Rob. From my point of view, this has been going for a while, and I think we're very unique in Gladstone. It could have easily failed, but it's not going to because of the groups that are all involved. We're a very small community compared to where it has worked around the world. It's worked in Israel, it's worked in Massachusetts, obviously, and Team Queensland. They used Team Queensland as an example because of the population size for the whole of Queensland, but then I guess the team at Massachusetts Institute of Technology realised it was, Queensland's very big, and so that's why they split us up into 3 teams. But it could have quite easily failed, but it's because we've got this awesome network in the Gladstone region, and we've got those entrepreneurs that don't even know they're entrepreneurs. We were talking about them yesterday, the Berg Engineerings, the Upton Engineerings, and just even if you have a look at what they're doing at BSL with the undersell bus and that sort of stuff, there really is plenty of entrepreneurs in our region that just don't necessarily rate themselves as entrepreneurs. So thank you, team, and keep up the good work, and look forward to being involved and seeing the report this time next year. Cheers. Thank you. All right, councillors, the next item on the agenda is in the officers' report. We've got G4.1, which is a request for change application to development approval, material change of use for premises, educational establishment at lot 22 in Agnes Water. That will be the Steiner School. Over to you, Rob. Thank you. Councillor Trevor?
Just from a procedural point of view, do we have to move and second that the officer's recommendation be received? The first one wasn't done and the second one hasn't been done, and we might have to do both. Just from a procedural point of view.
Yeah, very cool. Can I get a mover for the first? Thank you, Councillor O'Grady. Second, Councillor Trevor. All in favour? Carried. And for the second item, which is our deputation we just had, thank you, Councillor Cameron. And seconded by Councillor Branthwaite. All in favour? That's carried. Thank you. Now we'll hand over to Rob for the G4.1. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and good morning, councillors. The purpose of this report is to assess the requested change of development application for 33-2018 for a material change of use of premises for an educational establishment against the planning scheme policy and council's planning scheme under the Planning Act of 2016. The applicant lodged a formal minor change request to increase capacity of the site. However, given the request was to change a decision made by council, being the removal of the special condition, it is therefore council who needs to have the opportunity to review the application and the council officer's recommendation. Council assessed the original application based on it being low scale in the early 2019 and endorsed the development by applying a special condition that stated, upon commencement of use, the educational establishment is limited to no more than 7 staff and 50 students at any one time. In addition, an advisory note was added that stated council would not support an increase of use associated with the educational establishment as it is to remain low scale. This subsequent change request seeks the removal of this special condition that formed the basis of the use in the first instance. And I have our Manager Development Services here to ask any or answer any technical questions associated with the original application and this one.
Thank you, Rob. Councillor Goodluck has a question.
Thanks, Rob, and thank you for another comprehensive planning report, Helen. Well done. I've read through the report. I still, can you just clarify for me again? It seems where did we get the initial number of 50 maximum students from?
In the report, you'll see that that was based on the original materials submitted from the applicant at the time the original application was made.
And so is that, had the applicant, I understand the reports outlining, you know, valid reasons why we don't want to promote this sort of use that's outside of that zone, and it was only ever meant to be a temporary establishment. But I'm seeing that the proponent is working towards that, and from their perspective, that this increase of the 20 students will help them actually get out of there sooner, I suppose. So I suppose my question is, had the applicant put 70 instead of 50 on the initial application, would that have been considered, or is that sort of a hypothetical we can't really address here?
It's a bit of a hypothetical we can't really address. I guess the issue is really about the conflict with the conservation zone. So on the material presented in the original application, it was considered that that was sufficiently low scale enough to enable us to warrant an approval in that instance. So it's really about scale.
So are we saying that the 70 people, that extra 20 people, that's the line where the scale does not becomes unsuitable? Is that?
It's an increase in scale, yes.
Yeah.
All right. Councillor Muscat and then Councillor Cameron.
Thank you. Thanks for the report. And I have a couple of questions, I guess, similar to what Councillor just mentioned. Like, I guess we don't have. The report doesn't mention anything in relation to, you know, when is that we consider it low or high or medium. There isn't really a number. So I do understand where you come from and why you reached this conclusion. I completely understand that. So you obviously said in the past that you would not support an increase of users associated with the educational establishment, as it is to remain low scale. So that is a condition that you put in the past. So I'm assuming that's why you're actually recommending to decline this request. Now, my problem is in relation to not having that clear number. So there isn't, unless you can tell me there is somewhere a table or something like that that says that.
No, there isn't a clear number anywhere.
Okay.
So essentially, the decision was made on the basis of the scale that was provided in the original application.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess if that was a greater scale, then it's unlikely that the original application would have been approved at all.
Okay, so the way I'm actually looking at this is like an increase of 20 students. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's not going to be low scale. I also note that they are still looking for a place to move to. So by us rejecting this request, we will, I guess, be stalling their growth in a way, even the little bit of more growth they could have until they find a new place. I also note the community need. I know and I understand that the community need probably doesn't apply in this case because it's not related to a conservation and environmental situation. However, I guess it's, you know, if we were to have another organisation that will work on conservation and the conservation and environmental values, then we'll be looking at it differently. So to me, it's an application that is one of those ones that is hard to assess without, I guess, putting a bit of extra knowledge as to what's happening with the school and what they do and what the site is for. So I understand why you have recommended to decline it, but I believe that this is one of the things that we do, and, you know, taking the understanding that we have as councillors and people that are in the community, I don't see a greater impact on the lot if we were to approve their request. So, you know, obviously we might be able to put some kind of I guess maybe timelines, or we do know that they are actively looking at a different place, and it's also helping the surf club, I believe, in a way, because they're actually renting this space to the school. So if we were to have, for example, go back to the surf club, I'm sure we will have more than 50 people at any one time if they were operating as a surf club. I do know that that approval was done previous to the planning scheme, so I do know that. So I will like to approve this request on the basis that is. Well, it's a special situation, and while it doesn't exactly fit within our assessment, and it doesn't, the result of the assessment doesn't reflect the intention and what is actually going to happen if we approve another extra 20 students to go into the school. So I don't know if there's any commentary, or if it sounds. Is there anything else I'm kind of missing or that I need to consider?
Yeah, no, I think you've captured it there pretty well. So the existing lease, I understand, finishes in 2024. So that's where the current lease ends for the school at that location.
So well, we will assume that after 2024 we'll be reviewing. No, so they will have the lease with the surf club.
That's when the lease expires.
Okay.
Yep.
We've got Councillor Cameron, then Councillor Trevor.
Yeah,
and
thanks,
then Hanson.
Mayor. Just a little bit of confusion over really how you measure this. Is it relative to floor area? Is it relative to, where's this magic number? And is there a compromise? Just confusion as to how, what is the impact of the extra 20 people, really?
So, as detailed before, the application in the first instance was assessed on a number that was submitted by the applicant at their extreme end of their growth.
Yeah.
And they've surpassed that at the moment. So the idea was that the only reason this application was recommended for approval was on the basis that it remained low scale. And that was incorporating everything that they predicted for the life of the time that they would need to be in this location.
Okay, so what scale do they move to if they have 20 extra students?
There's no separate definition of scale around those numbers, so
Yep.
it's not a calculation that I can tell you if they stayed at this, it's that.
Okay.
It's really, I guess, what's happening here from a planning point of view undermines the original decision to
Yep.
approve it at low scale.
Yep. That's what I see the sticking point is, that it's a condition, a special condition that was put on it, and it's in breach of that special condition. So to solve this, we take the special condition away, or revise the special condition. Is that fair?
Yep, that's what they've asked for.
Okay.
Thank you. Councillor Trevor, then Hanson.
Thanks, Mayor. Thanks, Rob. Thanks, Helen. Principally, I've assessed this matter on the basis that, whilst I acknowledge the town planning principles, one of our primary obligations as a council is to support educational facilities. And that's my starting point in relation to rejecting the officer's recommendation and moving an alternate recommendation that the application be approved. Some of the other issues that I considered in my general assessment, other than town planning issues, were the previous use of this facility being a surf lifesaving club, and I've personally wined and dined and drank beer with over 100 guests in that facility. And I think Councillor O'Grady has just confirmed the same. So to specify a number under 100 immediately causes me concern, because not too many years ago I was in the same facility sharing, as I say, a drink with fellow residents of the Agnes Water 1770 community and beyond. In addition to that, we've got substantial development within metres of the subject land, pavilions, which is a substantial unit complex, and an adjoining substantial complex. And as I understand it and recall it, our new town plan, which was approved by this council, only now allows high-rise development in the Agnes Water 1770 community within a few hundred metres of this facility. So I'm inclined to support it for those reasons, including that this school exists quite successfully and quite clearly is going to continue to be successful without any support from the Department of Education. I'm not aware of any, correct me if I'm wrong, but Mayor, you would probably know the answer to this question more than I, but my understanding that this school exists without support from the Department of Education, and if that's the case, it's going to be difficult for them in the future to secure alternate sites, and it's going to be difficult for them to secure funding to facilitate an expansion of their school facilities. So with all that in mind, I can do nothing other than request that the officer's recommendation be changed with the removal of the word refused and the inclusion of the word in its stead approved. And I so move accordingly.
Thank you, Councillor Trevor. Before I go to Councillor Hanson to speak, do I have a seconder for that? Thank you, Councillor Muscat. Councillor Hanson.
I think most of it has been said, but I think Councillor Cameron nailed it. It was assessed on condition of numbers previously, and to change that, we just have to change that condition. The building footprint, you said before, doesn't change, that's right. And how has the school been progressing with a potential new site? Do we know that? Have we got any information on that?
We have had inquiries about a number of different sites, and we've provided feedback on those sites. I'm not sure how far along they've progressed.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Councillor Churchill, do you have a question or comment?
Probably just speculation in some ways is that, and I think that's where Councillor Hanson was coming from, but other than the commercial negotiations, in your professional opinion, is that facility and or that site suitable for an education facility long term?
This site? No.
Thank you.
Councillor Goodluck, I'll throw to you, but while he's speaking, Councillor Trevor might like to draft a reason, because we have to have a reason why we've gone against the officer's recommendation. Over to you, Councillor Goodluck.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Sorry, I did give a reason when I was speaking. So, obviously, but it's Councillor Trevor's motion anyway. But if I can help him in any way, it was more about the special situation of this assessment and how, considering, what did I say before? It was more of an assessment that it wasn't actually, I guess, a typical assessment or something that was that straightforward. So this required special considerations and more understanding of the actual issues around educational facilities.
Thank you, Councillor Muscat. Back to you, Councillor Goodluck.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to clarify two things, Rob or Helen. I completely appreciate and understand our planning department's approach to this particular application, because we've drawn a line in the sand and you know, the line has wanted to be moved. So we have to do that, but I also understand the proponents' proposal. So can I just clarify that the actual request for a minor change to the decision notice, so that the only change from what I'm reading is to increase the number from 50 students to 70 students. The actual condition around no further expansion will remain if the decision notice if the motion that Councillor Trevor's put is passed. Is that the case?
If that's how you want it worded, yeah, that's correct.
So is that the request from what I'm reading from the planning consultant?
Yep.
Sorry, that's what
Correct.
They're suggesting. So there still will be no. I note that the proponent has communicated to us that they're not expecting any further expansion, but I also note that that was the case, 2 years ago when it was approved initially. So the condition still remains that there's no future expansion. The only thing that this, if Councillor Trevor's motion is passed, will raise the number from 50 maximum to 70 maximum.
Correct.
Yep. The other thing that I wanted to confirm before I make my decision, if we're to overturn this officer's recommendation here today, does that set any future precedent, or is there any impacts that I need to be aware of around that decision? Or is it the case that perhaps the applicant can, because I know in the report that it notes that the applicant has the ability to challenge the decision?
Yes, that's right. And the applicant also has the Act sets out the parameters to enable them to request a change to a condition at any time. So a change today doesn't mean we don't have another request at any time in the future. I guess the other thing to keep in mind is that this application was impact assessable, and that was because it was in the conservation zone, which doesn't intend for this type of development in that zone, and that the material that people may have viewed in relation to that application was based on the original numbers, not on the subsequent numbers. So the original numbers were publicly notified. These numbers were not, as it met the minor change requirements. So I think it's just worth noting that that's part of the process as well.
And around the any potential precedents or impacts from overturning the officer's recommendation today, is that something that we need to be concerned about, or is that...
Each application is assessed on its merit. I guess in this instance, usually if someone said to me, would you approve a school in the conservation zone, I would simply say no. But the material provided and the scale provided at the time, we gave significant weight to enable an approval to be issued based on scale, and that's how the approval was issued in the first instance.
Thank you.
Councillor O'Grady was also approved on the first instance because it was meant to be moving to somewhere else in the longer term as well. Councillor O'Grady.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm just concerned about would 70 be enough? Could we look at maybe being 80 students? Because the town is growing down there. There's 200 more people have just moved to town down at Agnes Water, and actually people are coming to Agnes Water to actually send their children to that school. So, you know, I think we need to have a look and see, you know, 20 kids, and it's going to employ probably another teacher, one or two more teachers if we look at 80. Yeah, increasing it by another 30.
To Councillor Muscat, they didn't ask for 80 with all due respect. They asked for 70, and I don't think we can... I don't think we should be second guessing what they've asked for 70. If we approve that today through Councillor Trevor's recommendation, I think that's going outside what we've already agreed to. When we originally said, as Councillor Goodluck said, drew a line in the sand and said, we'll approve this on the condition that's no more than 50. And I get it. I've been to the school. It's a fantastic school. It's great for the community. And I know that people actually have moved to Agnes for it because I've spoken to the parents. But they've asked for 70. I don't think we can second guess their application. If you want to put a higher figure on it, you can. But over to you, Councillor Muscat. Oh, sorry, Councillor Dowling. Sorry, CEO Dowling, and then Councillor Muscat.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just wanted to clarify, and perhaps Helen or Rob might be able to provide some advice. I've drafted the recommendation, I believe, as Councillor Trevor suggested, which is just to change the refuse to approve. But my question is, normally we would have a condition that would be worded in a specific way, which is what I think we're discussing now. So I guess that's my question from planning expertise, and perhaps back to councillors, is do you want to craft the actual condition here, or do you want to just say that it be approved and officers do that work? And I'm not sure of the legal implications of that, if you might.
Yeah, the condition needs to be worded.
We can probably do that then. Councillor Muscat.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I was just, I guess, thinking the same thing as what you were saying. It's not necessarily, I like the, you know, the school to grow and to find another place from where to operate. I don't think it is kind of probably physically possible. I mean, the place is not that big anyway, so to have more children there, and I think I will just go for what they actually requested. If they wanted 80, they would have said 80. So I also wanted to note that when it comes to precedent, and I completely understand how you reach your recommendation. So there's not an issue really. I mean, there's a condition that we put in there, and that condition needs to be taken off. So obviously, it's going to be a refusal. So, but we here make these kind of decisions, you know, every other month. So when it comes to precedent, I really appreciate the question of precedent. I would like that question to be asked at every single application when we do not accept the officer's recommendation. So that would be wonderful, because while I think there's a risk of setting a precedent with many other applications that we do not accept the officer's recommendation much more than this one. So I fully support Councillor Trevor's recommendation, and I don't see why we need to keep, you know, increase the number at this stage. Will we be removing the condition, or the condition is going to be changing the numbers?
I guess the question for councillors is, do you want to remove the condition or amend the number?
And perhaps another consideration, Mr Mayor, might be whether you'd like this report to come back with the amendment. I don't know if there's timeframes, or whether I've got on the screen there, that's what has been requested by the applicant. That's the wording of the condition that they have suggested. Is that what councillors want to go with?
So could I just ask, so if we increase it to 70, do we have to go back to community for submissions, or?
No.
Yeah. Okay. So just, well, why would it be another report? What do we need another report to come back?
I'm just trying to confirm what the condition is that council, how you want that worded. Do you want the wording as requested by the applicant? Is that what you're comfortable with? Because just to say we approve the request is not suitable. We need to have the conditions clearly stated out.
Before we go to Councillor Hanson and Cameron, Councillor Goodluck wants to talk about that condition, so I'll go there.
Mr Mayor, sorry, the condition request by the planning consultants, which is up on the screen, inserts the words more than the following members at any time, except as otherwise improved in writing by council. It goes on to state that this is a standard wording implemented by many other councils when conditioning land use. My question to Helen is that advice, would you agree with that advice?
No, I do not, and I'd like that removed.
So this goes to my initial, I think we need to, and I completely take on board Councillor Muscat's commentary about other applications. This is planning, this is very regulatory. There are planning and environment courts. This is very different to just some of the everyday applications we might see in other areas. And I think we do need to make sure that we get this condition right. I certainly wouldn't support any more than the 70 students. I'm leaning towards that. But the writing of the condition, upon advice from Helen, I wouldn't be supportive of the applicant's requested wording. I think we need to maintain the condition as is in the current form, and perhaps if council's happy to support Councillor Trevor's motion, then just raise the number to the 70 students with the clear expectation that no future expansion would be supported, which may not be so clear.
Yeah, so sorry, Councillor Cameron, I'll throw it back to Councillor Trevor. We'll get the motion, then I'll throw it back to you.
My motion was that the request for a change decision notice minor for development application 33/2018 for a material change of use of premises for an educational establishment be approved from 50 to 70 students plus 7 staff.
Thank you, Councillor Trevor. Helen, does that...
Yep,
you're happy with that resolution? Obviously, against your recommendation, but that's workable. Thank you, Lisa.
Sorry, Councillor Trevor, could you just read that for me, make sure just the last bit, to make sure I get that correct, please.
Deletion of the word refused and insertion of the word approved from 50 to 70 students plus 7 staff. I think that was their request, if I recall it correctly, and please correct me if I'm wrong.
Councillor Cameron and then Councillor Hanson and Good. Oh, you've already spoken, Councillor Goodluck.
Do we need a reason for that motion, Mr Mayor?
Yep.
I was just settling the terms of the the motion, but if you do you want the reasons now?
That'd be good, thank you.
They're twofold. The first one is an increase. I can't even read my own writing now. An increase of student numbers from 50 to 70. Plus 7 staff will not pose a significant impact on the conservation zone, and that council should support educational facilities wherever possible.
This might be for Tanya. Is that reasonable? It seems reasonable to me. Are you happy with that as an explanation why we've gone against the officer's recommendation?
I mean, in terms of the legislation just provides you must provide reasons, so that satisfies the legislation.
Sorry, Councillor Goodluck. Councillor Cameron's been waiting, so I'll throw back to you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, this is just an aside issue, is that any decision that we make today, is that going to impact on the lease of this premises?
No, not that I'm aware of, no.
There's no correlation between the planning approval relative to the lease, as far as student size is concerned?
The surf club will allow that additional space on the top floor for the school to
So that's
expand.
just a contractual matter between the surf club and the school? Okay, thanks.
Councillor Hanson, Councillor Churchill.
I was going to ask a question similar to Councillor Cameron, but I had to wait in line when I put my hand up before a lot of other councillors. Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Sorry about that. I did explain why I let Councillor Goodluck jump in ahead of you. I was speaking about the particular issue. But over to you, Councillor.
It happens a fair few times, Mr
I'm
Mayor.
sure it does. Over to you. You've got the floor for as long as you like.
All the time.
See, he didn't even need to speak. Next in line is Councillor Churchill. I'm sure you've got something
Thanks,
to say.
Mayor Matt. I'm prepared to wait. I'm a patient person. I've got a burr under my saddle with this one, and maybe this is a question through you, Rob, to our Manager for Planning and Development. And whilst I'm keen to support Councillor Trevor's recommendation, I'm trying to understand in the planning court, albeit our planning scheme, we're actually giving the reasons and we're going outside of the recommendation relevant to our planning scheme. So we're actually establishing a precedence. That's a fact. That's a fact. By setting this precedence, do we then get faced, in your expert opinion, could we possibly, in any way, shape or form, be exposed to the danger that we might have in the planning court at a later time if we get another request in the future to increase from 70 to 100?
Throw to you, Helen, but I think you'll find we went outside our planning scheme when we approved this in the first instance.
Both correct statements. I guess the justification for approving in the conservation zone was around the number and the scale. And in terms of setting a precedence, this is a change application to an original decision. So it's not, we're not arguing the original decision. The original decision's been made. It's really if the applicant, any applicant can appeal any decision that council makes. So that scrutiny is always open to us. In this instance, the change request is simply about that one condition, and in this instance there were no third-party appeals to this development, so there was no people that made a submission that acquired appeal rights as a result of the decision. So in terms of likelihood of appeal in this, it would only come from the applicant, and the court would simply look at the change application. So it would only look at the change element and the reasons why, the difference between the decision from the original condition to this condition, and that's what you've provided today.
So in that circumstance, speculating though, assumption, and assumptions can happen, that could go from 70 to 100 at a request later on, which doesn't necessarily mean that it attracts any people to make any submissions because there was no submissions originally. Is that correct?
That's correct. The change process set out by the Act has a test that it needs to meet to be determined as a minor change or a major change. In this instance, it's a minor change, and that's how we've progressed this application. If it was a more significant change, it might not meet that test, and therefore it would go back to the start and require the public notification element to be incurred.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, Mr Mayor.
Over you, Councillor Hanson.
The lease thing's still worrying me. Is there any options with the lease, with the surf club? Because there's no way they could ask for an option and still progress with where they are into the future.
The development approval runs with the land, and the lease is pretty much irrelevant to this approval.
And that concerns me because I agree with Councillor Trevor on the motion, but I also agree that the school needs to find somewhere else, and the lease issue could allow this to go on for a lot more than the 2024. So I just don't know you can't do anything about that. That's just that was my concern, Mr Mayor. Thank you.
Councillor Branthwaite, did you have something?
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. I've waited pretty patiently too, but in the same token, I've actually jotted down a whole heap of issues and questions that I had in my mind, and all the rest of the council have asked those and they've been answered. I think because of the likes of the Discovery Coast is probably one of our fastest growing areas around the region that we really need to be quite, I suppose, proactive as far as allowing this sort of expansion to happen in a small scale. It's about, as you say, keeping a grasp on it. I too had questions over the options availability of the extension of the lease, but I'm pretty sure that the school itself will be, and I'm not going to speak on their behalf, but if I was in their position, I would certainly be looking out for a piece of land, and you would need a 4-year lease to ensure that the next facility that you were going into was able to be purchased and developed, because it would take that long. So from my perspective, I would support the motion that's been put forward to the tune that, yeah, we do need to, I suppose, foster that growth or encourage that sort of growth, but also keep the reins as a regulatory body and ensuring that all the rules that our officers and the legislation puts out are adhered to, because it's so important in itself. I've lost my train of thought now. So
I think you made a very good point.
Thank you.
That's fine. Thank you. Councillor Goodluck, then I'm going to put the motion.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just want to clarify one last time before I vote for this motion. The motion as it reads, because I support the intent, approved from 50 to 70 students plus 7 staff. It doesn't, the applicant has made a specific request around the wording of the condition, which we haven't addressed, but we haven't not addressed in the motion. Is that sufficient, the wording of that motion, to make so that clearly states to the applicant that we are not accepting their wording? Is that how?
The decision notice will set out the amended condition, and we'll simply change the original number to the 70. Okay,
so that's fine. Thank you. And then, yeah, that's all I had. Thank you.
Councillors, I think we've had enough debate on that. Any further questions before I put the motion? It's moved. The office. Oh, sorry, not the officer's recommendation. The recommendation by Councillor Trevor is moved and on the screen, and seconded by Councillor Moscat. I'll put the motion. All in favour? Those against? The motion is carried. Thank you, councillors. We'll move to the next item on the agenda, which is 4.2, which is the naming of infrastructure asset, renaming Nichols Road from 1L to 2. And I'll hand back to the General Manager of Customer Experience, Rob Huth.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The purpose of this report is to allow Council to consider a request to change the spelling of Nichols Road with 1L to Nichols Road with 2 Ls. Council received a request on the 18th of June this year from Shane Nichols in relation to the spelling of Nichols Road, Targini, Mount Larkham. The road was named after his grandparents Ivan and Dora Nichols, who lived and farmed along the road for 40 years. Council's records indicates the spelling of the name has previously been recorded as both versions within the Old Calliope Shire Council's documentation dating back to the 1960s. However, as per Calliope Shire Council's road register, the road name is recorded as being spelt with one L. The officer's recommendation is that Council approve the request to change the spelling of Nichols Road from one L to two Ls.
Thank you. I think it's moved by Councillor Hanson, seconded by Councillor O'Grady. Surely no debate on this one. All in favour? Motion is carried. Thank you, and thank you, Rob.
I think they've shown great patience.
Certainly have. The next item on the agenda is G4.3, which is approved inspection program. Have a mover, please. Move Councillor Goodluck, seconded Councillor Churchill. All in favour? It's carried. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is G4.4, which is our monthly financial report for the period ending 24th of November 2020. And I'll hand over to the General Manager of Finance, Governance Risk, Mark Holmes. Thank you, Mark, and thank you, Rob, and thank you, Helen.
Good morning, Mayor and Councillors. This item is to see our monthly financial reports through to essentially the 24th of November. You'll note through there it has included an updated forecast based on officers and our leaders' rework of our financial position and our progress year to date. As a result of that, there has been, two causes of a variation in that space. One with respect to revenue, so our revenue, particularly in and around our interest on investments, has been constrained, as well as some other minor revenues in our fees and charges, and that's seen a deterioration of that position of 1.5 million from budget. The other is with respect to our employee expenses. Similarly, same amount, 1.5 million. The result in that space is with respect to, we budgeted a organisational vacancy rate of 7.5% when we actually are realising a 4.5%. So whilst it's a good news from a budgetary position, it has placed so whilst the forecast is sitting at that 7.3 million, which is a deterioration of 3 million from our budget, leaders will be undertaking a 6-month budget review and will be doing their best to look at trying to claw back that deficit and the difference during that time, see what we can do over the next 6 months. With respect to our other year-to-date performances, our capital spend is in line with budgetary expectations, and in fact the forecast is in and around 67 million as opposed to 64.8. So that is where we're at our forecast at the moment. Certainly realise there is some level of risk still associated with that as we still get entering into our wet season, and given that we have only really spent $19 million of that to date. So there's some concern in that space that we may not hit that figure, but if everything was to hold true, we could well hit that. The other item to call out is our outstanding rates. So certainly sitting higher than we were this time last year, and that's as a result of several things. We still had discount open this time last year, so there isn't a comparable position to that. So when we look at the tracking even to previous years, going back 2 years, we are still above that at 13.7%. So we actively have started our debt collection activities, and we do hope to see that engagement with our ratepayers resulting in certainly the increase in the number of instalment plans that are entered into, and to see if that arrears balance come down as we progress throughout the balance of the financial year. Happy to take questions as to the balance of the report.
Thanks, Mark. Councillors, questions to the General Manager, please. Councillor Churchill.
Thanks for that, Mayor Matt. It was just in relation on page 28 of your report, and comprehensive report, and we do, I'm sure everybody values and appreciates your report every month, Mark, from a financial perspective. I suppose this is more in your comment there, you're indicating the investment policy has been amended and appropriately, which will allow for better investing opportunities once the interest rates recover. once the interest rates recover. You know, I'm just looking for your, I suppose, expert or specialist or professional opinion in the cycle of interest rates recovering, because as we watch what's happening post-COVID in other parts of the world and through the World Bank, we're actually starting to see some banks that are now charging people, not giving interest, they're actually charging people to look after their money. Which, I mean, we might end up resorting, not that we're going to do it in local government land, putting money back under the bed, because you don't want to pay for someone to look after your money. But that's what's actually happening.
Yeah.
So I suppose my question to you is probably more at this particular stage, at what stage in that cycle, when interest rates start to recover, you're going to be flexible enough if it moves in one way or it moves in another? Just explain it to me if you don't mind.
So the investment policy was restrictive as to, I guess, the level of financial institutions we entered into. So what we've done is try to open that up, still while minimising our risk. So almost probably some more of our secondary financial banks, which are still quite large, Macquarie's, those sort of banks, and opening up some investment opportunities in that space. Realise that we are only getting, certainly less than 1%, in around 0.7, 0.8 on our investments at the moment. But it's more about opening up those opportunities that are available to us. As you're aware, due to the limitations within the Statutory Bodies Financial Arrangements Act, we can really only invest in term deposits. Nothing more creative than that. And so it's more about opening up those opportunities to look at some of those, rather than the big four banks and also our QTC cash fund, but just opening opportunities for officers to make sure that we are getting the best return we possibly can in that space. But certainly agree and note your commentary with respect to the broader economic outlook. Certainly not expecting a recovery anytime soon, but to me that investment policy more just enables us. So when there is movements in that space, and we see, so individual banks can, for whatever reasons, be seeking funds or wanting to attract funds, and we don't know where and when those opportunities can arise. But our team will get an alert from those institutions, so it just gives us the flexibility to do that. Largely, our investments are held at call at the moment, so when those term deposit opportunities come up, we can quickly move those.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, Councillor Branthwaite, then Councillor Hanson.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Mark, just on page 30, just to clarify, the list of projects that are on there, you've got budget, forecast and actual. So this is just year to date, is it? Is that just the spend year to date?
Yeah, so that's actually your funding. So that's actually your fund. So the revenue stream. So they're ones we've actually are looking at receiving capital revenue for. So they're part of your capital program, but they're what we actually are receiving grants for. So some of them will come from our state government partners, under Works for Queensland and the like, and others will come from our federal government. So that's what we've just broken those two. So it is essentially what is the year-to-date forecast with respect to those.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hanson.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Is there a concern with the capital spending so far year-to-date when parks and environment assets are sitting at 3%, and they've been sitting at 3% spend for the whole part of this year? So is there a concern that we're not moving in the right direction with that and others? There are others that are sitting at the 17% spend. Is there a real concern there?
That's probably a matter for chase up with their ops team, but certainly we can get some feedback to you on that. I'm probably not aware of individual items of concern in that space, but I'm not sure whether John could add a further context to that.
Certainly, I believe one of those projects, John, would be the Tundoon Gardens upgrade, which is most of that money, which is councils have recently had a look at. So it's one project, even though the percentage is low, it's one project and a smaller amount of money, but
thank you.
John might be able to.
John? That's correct. The significant amount of money is tied up in the Botanic Gardens work. I'm not aware of any other significant projects in other parks and gardens that have been affected by that.
John, Councillor Muscat.
Thank you. Yeah, my question, well, I've got about 3 questions, but the last one was in relation to same thing as Councillor Hanson, and well, the parks and environment assets is a question there, obviously property assets and delivery support and performance. It'd be wonderful to get an understanding of why that hasn't been spent, or why we're sitting at that percentage at the moment. So I don't know
your
if we have
delivery
any.
support performance, that's largely your fleet assets. So we've committed to your fleet
Okay, great.
Purchases a couple of meetings ago. So that'll start to be materialise over the balance of the financial year.
So there won't be any sort of serious concerns in that area in any
in terms
of
of
these departments?
the forecast spend for that is in the second half.
Okay, thank you. Now, the other, they're just quick questions. What am I looking at? So are we doing, are we having a 6-month review? Is that correct?
So we do essentially a 3-month review formally with our leaders and working through that.
Yeah.
We're taking very much a facilitated approach in terms of leaders from within my team will be engaging with all of our level 3 leaders and general managers to work through the relevant budgets to make sure that we're doing our best to offset some of our overruns here to date, to try and minimise that forecast and get that more in line with what was our budgetary expectation.
Yeah, great. So will we be able to move the waste levy from the subsidies onto the other?
That's just correcting accounting
Yeah,
classification.
that's right.
That's just how it was budgeted.
Yeah. So we'll be changing that, or will it still be there with the notes?
It'll be run. Yeah, that's just to me that the net result of that is the same regardless.
Yeah, that's
it's
correct.
Just so it's just recognising that as essentially a negative expense rather than a subsidy.
Yeah. So we're going to continue to leave it this way.
That's the appropriate treatment.
Okay, perfect. Just checking, because I keep seeing that note and I'm thinking, can we just
essentially your
move it?
budget was drafted on that, so that's what we're comparing to in this report.
No problem. And in relation to the forecast for the vacancy rate, so I believe we made some changes at the last budget as well to that, not, I guess, knowing what the future was going to be.
Yeah, so certainly when it was highlighted, we
remember.
highlighted as part of that it was a risk, and it has materialised. The other part of the risk at that time was also recognising that our leave, at that stage, we're uncertain as to when people could take leave and that. So we're certainly making sure that we're having those conversations with our staff with respect to making sure they're taking leave as appropriate. And with the borders opening up, I think more people are taking that leave as well. So that also has an impact on that actual employee expense, which otherwise would be coming off our liability provision.
Yeah, that's great. Well, that will be something that we're going to have to look at, next budget too. So because
the figure that we adopted was relatively in line with what we've been our organisational performance over a significant period of time. So
I just it would have been great to, I guess, not take that risk, but obviously we didn't know what was going to happen later on. But I look forward to see how the vacancy rate's going to be. I just find that's one of the things that we can move around as well, and we need to be comparing what happened last year to this year to next year without having some of these changes in there. As in comparing apples to apples, what I'm saying.
Thank you, Councillor Musker. Councillor Trevor, then good luck.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Great report, Mark. Very, very pleased with our financial position. I think the Gladstone region can be assured that we're ending the year in a very good fiscal position. So far, so good. Of course, there's always imponderables, and no one knows or can predict the future, particularly coming into a cyclone season and an ongoing fire season. But I would just want to, in the lead up to Christmas, thank you and your financial staff for the great effort that you have done in the face of a global pandemic. We, as a government, primed the economy where we thought it was important, and thankfully our corporate and industrial partners, upon which our wealth and prosperity in this region is built, were fantastic in the sense that we didn't lose one employee in this community employed by industry as a result of the pandemic, and that's a great big thank you to our industrial partners who work tirelessly to protect their staff and ensure that nobody lost their job at a time of global uncertainty and a time of global pandemic. Of course, we're not out of the woods yet. We've still got February to face after we all get together over the Christmas, New Year festive season, and hopefully the vaccine or vaccines will come sooner or later and deal with the uncertainty in relation to a wave or second wave hitting central Queensland. But thank you, Mark. It's been an honour and a pleasure this year. We've worked very hard as a council to ensure that our fiscal certainty and stability remains intact despite what was thrown at us. And thank you, councillors, and you, Mayor and Deputy Mayor, for your support in achieving a fantastic outcome fiscally. As I say, in the face of a global pandemic, and I'm very proud to be here today, read that report and see that we've come out relatively unscathed with the support of our corporate partners and our major industry in this community. Small business obviously has taken an impact, but we stand ready, willing and able to help them where we can as a council and as a community. In the lead up to Christmas, please support locals, buy local, so that we can get small business back on the road to an early recovery in the new year. Thank you.
Yeah. Councillor Goodluck, you are moving the motion. Thank you. I have a mover in Councillor Goodluck, seconded Councillor Hanson. Any further discussion? Put the motion. All in favour? That's carried. We'll do a couple more items, then we'll break for morning tea. The next item on the agenda is G4.5, which is the revised ethics, integrity and audit policy. Back to you, Mark.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. At your 2nd of November meeting, the Council adopted a revised Audit Risk and Improvement Committee policy, and supporting that policy is a policy that guides our activity of our ethics, integrity and audit team. So this has been revised to update some of the changes in that policy, but also to recommend some changes that we've had within the organisation since that time in terms of linking, updating some of the definitions, ensuring that we're linking to our new risk framework, and just a general refresh of that policy. So the track changes version is attached for your information there, and the proposed policy there updates the 2018 policy that was adopted.
Councillor Churchill.
Yeah, no, keen to move the officer's recommendation, Mayor Matt, but I would like, in moving it, I'd like to just get a clarification on a very minor point in the proposed policy under 6.7 of responsibilities, and I'm sure that there's a very, well, hope there is a very simple answer to it. In the responsibilities, you're outlining in there in 6.7.1, or right through to 6.7.6, who reports to who. So the council takes the advice from the Audit Risk Improvement Committee, executive team reports to the committee. My pertinent question is, everybody's reporting to others, but it's in and I suppose, Madam CEO, you might be able to answer the question. It's in third dot point on page 5, 6.7.2, where required, action and report by the CEO irregularities identified through ethics, integrity, audit and assurance activities via delegation where appropriate. So maybe, I'm not quite sure whether you can answer that, Mark, or to Madam CEO, and maybe there's a simple answer to it. Is that you're taking into consideration, from a CEO's perspective, that you're taking or encompassing all reporting at all different levels? Is that correct?
Did you take? Oh. So with respect to there are some various reporting obligations we have direct to various state government entities with respect to various activities, whether it's breaches of various integrity bills, stolen items, etc. So and there's been a number of delegations that exist within our framework where either the CEO has that responsibility or she delegates that to the Ethics, Integrity and Audit Specialist to lead. So that's essentially outlining where we got those obligations that they're outworked.
I'm not sure if that answers your question, Councillor Churchill, and I'm not sure if this is what you're getting at, but it doesn't absolve anyone else who comes across any irregularities that has an obligation to report something under all of those different pieces of legislation to so do, but there are some specific items that are called out for the CEO to actually have responsibilities to report and obligations.
So our audit lead, so Ethics, Integrity and Audit Specialist, has those direct contacts with our Queensland Audit Office and all those integrity officers to make sure that we can call out directly as required officer actions and the like.
Okay, so for peace of mind, from my understanding, it's all encompassing. You have specific ones yourself as the CEO, and then appropriately the other one, the via delegation, where appropriate is for those within the organisation, appropriately making those or reporting those irregularities. Okay, I'm satisfied with it. Thank you.
And you're happy to move the recommendation? Thank you. Move, seconded, please. Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Any further debate, conversations, questions? Put the motion, all in favour? That's carried. The next item on the agenda is G4.6, which is the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee meeting schedule. Should be fairly easy. Move, Councillor O'Grady. Seconded, Councillor Muscat. No discussion. Put the motion, all in favour? It's carried. So meeting schedule is pretty easy. We'll do one more, then we'll break for morning tea. Is that okay, Kylie? We'll go to 4.7, which is the Gladstone Region Youth Council update. Thank you, Mark, and over to you, Kylie. Moved a bit fast, did we?
Just grab Bianca, Mr. Mayor. We'll fly solo on this one. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's my great pleasure to present the update for the Gladstone Region Youth Council today. They've been a wonderful group of people, 11 members in the actual Gladstone Region Youth Council. They've really had an opportunity this year to gain skills in advocacy and leadership and governance and team building. And they're really benefiting from the dedicated focus from one of our council officers, Community Development Officer. We've seen some really diverse activity from this group. They've really invested a lot of their time in different programs like An Unlikely Conversation, which brings our young people and our seniors together to have those conversations. They've really participated in Avenue to Awareness, which is also sharing their feelings about their own health and well-being to support the mental health and well-being of others. They've been very active in our community and in our environment, and they've really inputted into things like our Festival of Summer and the activities for young people. We do consult with our Youth Council on areas of their interest, of developments, things like that. So we're really having a genuine connection with our Youth Council. As I said, we have had a really dedicated focus by Bianca Michelle, who's our Community Development Officer, who's been with the Youth Council for the entire year. So yes, again, very proud of what they've achieved and invite any questions from councillors.
Councillors, questions? I think they've done a fantastic job considering the year they've had to deal with. No worries, we'll get a mover for the officer's recommendation then. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Churchill. Seconded, Councillor Branthwaite. Put the motion, all in favour.
Thank you.
Thank you, it's carried. And congratulations to the team, and a shout out to Max, particularly as the chairman as well. He's done a fantastic job.
He has.
We might break for morning tea, and we'll be back to deal with the last few items after morning tea. Thank you. And thank you.
Gladstone Regional Council are committed to fostering a proud, involved and engaged community. The Gladstone Regional Council Community Investment Program provides financial support to local community initiatives, projects and events which promote community connections, regional enhancements, community celebrations and community education. For more information on the Community Investment Program, visit gladstone.qld.gov.au. Gladstone Regional Council. Connect, innovate, diversify. Gladstone Regional Council are committed to fostering a proud, involved and engaged community. The Gladstone Regional Council Community Investment Program provides financial support to local community initiatives, projects and events which promote community connections, regional enhancements, community celebrations and community education. For more information on the Community Investment Program, visit gladstone.qld.gov.au. Gladstone Regional Council. Connect, innovate, diversify. Gladstone Regional Council are committed to fostering a proud, involved and engaged community. The Gladstone Regional Council Community Investment Program provides financial support to local community initiatives, projects and events which promote community connections, regional enhancements, community celebrations and community education. For more information on the Community Investment Program, visit gladstone.qld.gov.au. Gladstone Regional Council. Connect, innovate, diversify. Gladstone Regional Council are committed to fostering a proud, involved and engaged community. The Gladstone Regional Council Community Investment Program provides financial support to local community initiatives, projects and events which promote community connections, regional enhancements, community celebrations and community education. For more information on the Community Investment Program, visit gladstone.qld.gov.au. Gladstone Regional Council. Connect, innovate, diversify. Gladstone Regional Council are committed to fostering a proud, involved and engaged community. The Gladstone Regional Council Community Investment Program provides financial support to local community initiatives, projects and events which promote community connections, regional enhancements, community celebrations and community education. For more information on the Community Investment Program, visit gladstone.qld.gov.au. Gladstone Regional Council. Connect, innovate, diversify. Gladstone Regional Council are committed to fostering a proud, involved and engaged community. The Gladstone Regional Council Community Investment Program provides financial support to local community initiatives, projects and events which promote community connections, regional enhancements, community celebrations and community education. For more information on the Community Investment Program, visit gladstone.qld.gov.au. Gladstone Regional Council. Connect, innovate, diversify. Gladstone Regional Council are committed to fostering a proud, involved and engaged community. The Gladstone Regional Council Community Investment Program provides financial support to local community initiatives, projects and events which promote community connections, regional enhancements, community celebrations and community education. For more information on the Community Investment Program, visit gladstone.qld.gov.au. Gladstone Regional Council. Connect, innovate, diversify. Gladstone Regional Council are committed to fostering a proud, involved and engaged community. The Gladstone Regional Council Community Investment Program provides financial support to local community initiatives, projects and events which promote community connections, regional enhancements, community celebrations and community education. For more information on the Community Investment Program, visit gladstone.qld.gov.au. Gladstone Regional Council. Connect, innovate, diversify. Gladstone Regional Council are committed to fostering a proud, involved and engaged community. The Gladstone Regional Council Community Investment Program provides financial support to local community initiatives, projects and events which promote community connections, regional enhancements, community celebrations and community education. For more information on the Community Investment Program, visit gladstone.qld.gov.au. Gladstone Regional Council. Connect, innovate, diversify. Gladstone Regional Council are committed to fostering a proud, involved and engaged community. The Gladstone Regional Council Community Investment Program provides financial support to local community initiatives, projects and events which promote community connections, regional enhancements, community celebrations and community education. For more information on the Community Investment Program, visit gladstone.qld.gov.au. Gladstone Regional Council. Connect, innovate, diversify. Gladstone Regional Council are committed to fostering a proud, involved and engaged community. The Gladstone Regional Council Community Investment Program provides financial support to local community initiatives, projects and events which promote community connections, regional enhancements, community celebrations and community education. For more information on the Community Investment Program, visit gladstone.qld.gov.au. Gladstone Regional Council. Connect, innovate, diversify. Gladstone Regional Council are committed to fostering a proud, involved and engaged community. The Gladstone Regional Council Community Investment Program provides financial support to local community initiatives, projects and events which promote community connections, regional enhancements, community celebrations and community education. For more information on the Community Investment Program, visit gladstone.qld.gov.au. Gladstone Regional Council. Connect, innovate, diversify. Gladstone Regional Council are committed to fostering a proud, involved and engaged community. The Gladstone Regional Council Community Investment Program provides financial support to local community initiatives, projects and events which promote community connections, regional enhancements, community celebrations and community education. For more information on the Community Investment Program, visit gladstone.qld.gov.au. Gladstone Regional Council. Connect, innovate, diversify. Gladstone Regional Council are committed to fostering a proud, involved and engaged community. The Gladstone Regional Council Community Investment Program provides financial support to local community initiatives, projects and events which promote community connections, regional enhancements, community celebrations and community education. For more information on the Community Investment Program, visit gladstone.qld.gov.au. Gladstone Regional Council. Connect, innovate, diversify. Gladstone Regional Council are committed to fostering a proud, involved and engaged community. The Gladstone Regional Council Community Investment Program provides financial support to local community initiatives, projects and events which promote community connections, regional enhancements, community celebrations and community education. For more information on the Community Investment Program, visit gladstone.qld.gov.au. Gladstone Regional Council. Connect, innovate, diversify. Gladstone Regional Council are committed to fostering a proud, involved and engaged community. The Gladstone Regional Council Community Investment Program provides financial support to local community initiatives, projects and events which promote community connections, regional enhancements, community celebrations and community education. For more information on the Community Investment Program, visit gladstone.qld.gov.au. Gladstone Regional Council. Connect, innovate, diversify. Gladstone Regional Council are committed to fostering a proud, involved and engaged community. The Gladstone Regional Council Community Investment Program provides financial support to local community initiatives, projects and events which promote community connections, regional enhancements, community celebrations and community education. For more information on the Community Investment Program, visit gladstone.qld.gov.au. Gladstone Regional Council. Connect, innovate, diversify. Gladstone Regional Council are committed to fostering a proud, involved and engaged community. The Gladstone Regional Council Community Investment Program provides financial support to local community initiatives, projects and events which promote community connections, regional enhancements, community celebrations and community education. For more information on the Community Investment Program, visit gladstone.qld.gov.au. Gladstone Regional Council. Connect, innovate, diversify. Gladstone Regional Council are committed to fostering a proud, involved and engaged community. The Gladstone Regional Council Community Investment Program provides financial support to local community initiatives, projects and events which promote community connections, regional enhancements, community celebrations and community education. For more information on the Community Investment Program, visit gladstone.qld.gov.au. Gladstone Regional Council. Connect, innovate, diversify.
Thank you, councillors. Thank you, officers, and welcome back to those watching on live stream. We'll move to the next item on the agenda, which is 4.8, Community Investment Program, Community Celebration Fund, Ignite Out of Round application. Over to you, Kylie. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Thank you, councillors. Thanks, CEO. We are really excited to see some more events being applied for and organised throughout the region as we recover from COVID. This particular out-of-round application is for a Calliope Rodeo Association. It's for an event to be held on the 23rd of January 2021 as part of the Australia Day celebrations. This event really does support the National Rodeo Association and looks to attract around 1,500 visitors from across the region. We're excited to attract premier bull riders from across Australia at this particular event and to continue contributing to our recovering economy. The application is for $3,670 and has been recommended to support by the Community Investment Panel at a percentage of 72%. I'll just hand over to Lee to talk about some of the elements of the actual assessment panel.
Yeah, so the panel really commended the quality of the application. It was a really strong application. Went into real levels of detail around how they're utilising local suppliers and linking in with local organisations, and we just felt that should be highlighted.
Thanks, Lee. Should Council approve this request, the Ignite Fund itself will have a remaining budget of $7,030 for the remainder of the financial year. Any questions?
Thanks, Kylie. Questions to General Manager? Councillor Muscat, sorry. Lisa, to you.
Just a clarification, in the panel assessment, the recommendation figure is 3670 and the figures are used, there's a couple of discrepancies throughout. Is it 376 or 367? It's just a clarification.
You sort that out. I'll throw to Councillor Muscat for a question.
Thank you. Thanks, Kylie and Lee. I just wanted to confirm that they weren't sure what was going to happen with COVID-19, so that's why they held. There wasn't like a second a second application that wasn't approved first, and then they had another go or anything like that. Okay, that's great. And do we have any more that you think will come up like this in these similar situations where people didn't know if they were going to be able to do the events?
We're not expecting too many more of the Ignite events. So the Ignite event is up to 2,500. The remaining events for the financial year are really those big events that we are expecting. So Easter in Gladstone, Harbour Festival, the hookup, those type of events.
Thank you. Well, that's great, really. Like, I think and what Lee said just before, it's great to see that an organisation is being able to, put the work in and then answer the questions in which, and they're only asking for 8% of the total of the event cost, which is, that's, I wish they would have asked for a bit more maybe, in a way. But no, that's great, and to see that, to see that they a level, the quality of an application like this is great. It will be wonderful to see more of those coming, so it makes our job much easier. But I also know that you've been working with community organisations to get them to understand how to best address those questions, and hopefully this is just an example of what you've done in the past. So yeah, I think that's great. I'll be happy to support this, so thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Muscat. Any other questions, councillors? Thank you. So I'm going to believe that Councillor Muscat might move that then. Moved, and a second.
Can I just clarify? Apologies for interrupting, Mr. Mayor. It is 3,760, and I apologise for the error in that report.
Kylie, if you do the sums on your sponsorship request on page 51, it comes to 3,670.
Can we? Yeah, we'll just clarify this if that's okay.
I think we've moved 3,760. The sums might be not correct, but I'm sure the extra $100 won't go astray. It's a fantastic event, and they do run amazing events there at the Clubby Radio. So I have a mover and I have a seconder for the larger amount, and I'm going to put the motion. All in favour? It's carried. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is 4.9. Thank you, Lee. Thank you, Kylie. The tender for purchase of medium rigid trucks, and I'll hand over the General Manager of Operations to John Tumbers. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good morning, councillors. This item is to enter into a contract with Western Truck Group for the supply of 3 rear tippers, 1 side tipper and a tag trailer for the side tipper. A request for quote was released to 11 suppliers on the local by contract arrangement, and only 1 submission was received from Western Truck Group for the supply of UD Krona PK 18280 trucks. I just want to draw your attention, the contract value is incorrect in the financial section of the paper. It says around 1.3 million. That's a typo. It's actually only $701,299.60 for the contract value, and that's within the allocated funds for this particular purchase. Open for questions.
Thanks, John. Councillor Goodluck has a question.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. John, I just wanted to clarify we only got 2 conforming submissions, was it? 1 conforming. My only queries is in relation to the scoring. So we've got a 52 out of 100. If you take away the local content score, it's 48 out of 100. And I'm just trying to, you know, the commentary in the report, everything suggests that the items are fit for purpose, they'll do the job, they're up to spec, yet we're dealing with a 48 out of 100, less than half, or just above half if you include the local content. And I'm just not sure. Can you sort of give me any context around that? For me, I don't know. You know, I don't drive these machines, and I don't have a great understanding of them. But they're either fit for purpose or they're not. And how is it that if they're fit for purpose, which the commentary in the report suggests, how is it that we're only dealing with a 52 out of 100 score?
All right, I'll talk about the truck and operability, and Christy's online. I'll get her to talk about the evaluation report. You there, Christy?
Yes, I sure am.
So with the trucks, we already have this model of truck in the fleet, and we're set up to maintain it, and it is the preferred truck to operate by the operators. In terms of evaluation report, I'll hand it over to you, Christy.
Thanks, John. The technical scoring above meeting expectations. So it was the price scoring was low, and that was on the basis of the original approved budget value for this purchase. Subsequent to the evaluation, additional funds have been allocated to this purchase from the existing capital budget.
Thanks, Christy. Without going into the confidential attachment, it's the scoring around the project understanding and methodology, which sort of I understood the pricing issue, which was fine. So, but cut a long story short, John, you're saying these trucks are fit for purpose. They're exactly what we need, and you're satisfied from an operations perspective that they'll do the job?
Yes, I am.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. Councillors, any other questions? Councillor Trevor.
John, what's the amended figure again?
$701,299.60.
That's instead of the 1,341,030.67 excluding GST?
That's correct.
Okay. Thanks, mate.
Thank you. Move,
I'm happy
Councillor
to
Trevor.
move, Mayor.
The recommendation remains the same because there's no figure in there, but it's handy to know the actual figure. Move, Councillor Trevor. Seconded, please. Seconded, Councillor O'Grady. Put the motion. All in favour? It's carried. Thank you, councillors. That's the end of the general items on the agenda. We'll move to councillors' reports. Do we have any written council reports? No? Thank you. We do have a late item which is going to be tabled as for urgent business, and I did ask for this to be on the agenda on the 25th of November, and only a letter came in last night, so that's why it's come to your table now. So, but it was requested to be on the agenda before the agenda closed, but I'll throw to you 10 now.
Thank you, Mayor, and good morning, councillors. Council has received a written request from Rail Trails Australia Incorporated to nominate a representative for the position of Central Queensland Regional Representative of RTA. Rail Trails Australia is a predominantly volunteer, not-for-profit organisation supporting the development and promotion of rail trails across Australia. RTA have advised that regional representatives allow regular contact with the local rail trail stakeholders to promote their work or achievements and to provide assistance where required. I've highlighted in the report the fact that this is probably a twofold decision. Number one, is it suitable for council to nominate a representative? That is for a councillor to be a regional representative, particularly given that there are, they've highlighted 4 rail trails or proposed rail trails in our area, and only one of them falls within our regional council area. I've also had a look on Rail Trails Australia's website, and there are 4 other Queensland regional representatives listed. Each of those representatives seems to have various interests in the rail trail, from cycling enthusiasts to strong proponents of the rail trails. So if council is comfortable with nominating a representative, then it's up to council, of course, to nominate who should be that representative.
Thank you, Tanya. Questions, please? Councillor Muscat, then Councillor Trevor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for that. And I wanted to ask you, is there any other councils in the committee or the whatever, the body that we talked about?
So just confirming, this is a regional representative. I don't believe it's a member for a committee. It's not officially on the committee or on the management committee of Rail Trails Australia. It's merely just that what appears to be a representative on the ground to be able to liaise with the different rail trail groups. So Rail Trails Australia doesn't have an interest in the rail trails, so to speak. They are purely that Australian body that, I guess, support the development of those
Okay,
trails.
so what are they coming to council then? What cannot they go to people that, I don't know, the rail trail group that we have here, or?
Oh, look, all that I have is the letter here regarding.
I'm just, because the thing is, obviously I understand the relationship we have with that and Councillor O'Grady's role in that, and because if we decide that we want to have a Gladstone Regional Council representative as this, then that's kind of an ongoing thing. It could be tomorrow, Councillor O'Grady's not here, or whoever we appoint now, and then we have to appoint someone else that might not have the connections or the interest in the rail trail situation.
Potentially, but just as council could nominate someone, they could withdraw ongoing participation in it, I would imagine.
I'm still not clear as to why we need to pick someone and not, I guess the rail trail sector to pick somebody to send. Plus, it's a regional thing. I'm assuming regional as in Central Queensland?
Yes.
Which is much bigger than Gladstone.
Well, that's right. They're highlighting that it covers the Boyne Burnett Inland Rail Trail, Capricornia Coast Pineapple Rail Trail, Bundaberg, Gingin, Mary to the Bay Rail, and any others that may arise during that time.
Okay, so we are going to appoint somebody to speak on behalf of all these people?
To liaise with them and then provide input back into Rail Trails Australia.
Yeah, I'm still not very clear as to what we're doing here. I mean, I'm sure, like, they could. Yeah, I'm not sure of what our role as a council it is when we're talking about a whole lot of trails that are not just the one that we still don't have.
Yeah.
So.
And I guess that's something to be mindful of, that the representative is council's representative. If appointed this way, it's council's representative and there to speak on behalf of acting council's interests as much as they are Rail Trails Australia.
Okay, so we're deciding on whether we want to have a representative to start with.
Yeah, there is an alternate resolution in there to if council was of a mind not to appoint a representative.
Okay.
Thanks. We've got Councillor Trevor, Churchill and Hanson would like to speak, and then I might throw to Councillor O'Grady.
Thank you, Mayor. I've read the material. Happy with the material. I note that the role is voluntary. I note that out-of-pocket expenses will be met by the RTA committee and not this council. I note the Rail Trails Australia has specifically requested that the Gladstone Regional Council nominate a representative for this position. I note Councillor O'Grady's passion for rail trails. It has been unswerving since her election to this council to this council, and she's done an enormous amount of great work for and on behalf of this council in relation to our own rail trail. I fully support her endorsement and I nominate her for the position.
Okay, thank you. Can I get a second for that before I second to Councillor Braithwaite? And can I
was next to
you are
speak,
next in line, so it's over to you.
I was going to second it, but Darryl can second it as such. But in accepting the seconder of the motion, I just wanted to ask one pertinent question was, and I'm totally supportive of the resolution to nominate Councillor O'Grady, but in light of saying that, has this communication, I notice in the line and Councillor Trevor's highlighted, we would appreciate the Gladstone Regional Council nominating a representative for this position. Are we aware whether there's a letter gone from Rail Trails Australia to Livingston Shire Council, Bundaberg Regional Council? The other one is the Mary Valley. I would imagine that that's probably Gympie or Sunshine Coast, Mary to the Bay. So do we know whether there's been a communication from Rail Trails Australia to the other local governments?
I'm not aware of any communication to other local governments, Councillor Churchill.
Right. As I said in opening, I'm totally supportive of the motion and I was keen to second it, but in light of saying that, is that are we putting ourselves in a position of process where it might be a competitive aspect where we're nominating and then all of a sudden you've got 3 or 4 other local governments that could very well be nominating their representatives as well?
I haven't received any indication that will be the case. I could, of course,
so we don't know.
Further.
We don't know what we don't know.
No.
All right. Okay. Thanks.
Councillor Hanson.
What is the term of representation? What will be the term of representation?
There's no indication, so I can only assume that it's an ongoing appointment, and that if council wanted to put a limit on that, they could do so in their resolution.
Okay. And how many meetings does this organisation have per year?
The Constitution
does set out the meetings. It could be anywhere in Australia, obviously.
But again, this isn't a committee position. This is a regional representative. So I am uncertain as to
just a few unknowns.
Required.
That's all. There's a lot of unknowns in this.
Yep.
And I just want to make sure of some of the facts. But yeah, I'm happy to support someone to be on this. So, well, I don't even know what it is. Committee or. A few unanswered questions.
Thank Councillor Muscat, and I might throw to Councillor O'Grady to wrap it up.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify that it's not like I'm not supporting Councillor O'Grady taking any of these positions or roles, or I just don't see why our council has to have a representative in this situation. There's, again, a lot of unanswered questions as to how this works. If anyone wants to come and ask, for example, someone wants to come and ask me to represent something in their sector, well, I'd just say yes or no. Obviously, if they want to get someone from the Gladstone Council, then there has to be more information as to what is our role and how is that we going to be representing, all these other rail trails that don't sit in our region. So that's why I can't support this recommendation. Not necessarily, not because I don't support the project or Councillor O'Grady's role in the group, but I don't understand why it has to be a council appointment.
Thank you, Councillor O'Grady, then Councillor Goodluck.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Trevor, for putting that forward, and I do accept the position if that goes that way. But I think we are in central Queensland, we're in between Rockhampton and whatever else, very similar to Almac and places like different groups that we're already got a representative on. And also, I think we need to work with the other rail trails as well, so we can get people to central Queensland to ride these trails. So if we don't work as a whole body, and we need to know what other rail trails are doing to, what's happening in the whole of central Queensland, not just Gladstone region.
Thanks, Councillor O'Grady. Councillor Goodluck, and go back to Councillor Hanson.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I'm not sure that it's our role to sort of question why they've asked us for a representative. I've got no doubt that it's due to Councillor O'Grady's involvement and understanding and advocacy of rail trails. I think the benefit we potentially get from this appointment is more of that understanding and involvement and representation, with considering we're looking at a rail trail in our own region. I note Councillor Trevor's point, it's expenses paid by Rail Trails Australia, and I don't have any real concerns about it, so I'm happy to support the motion. Did you have a seconder?
Yeah, I do. I had two seconders. I had Branthwaite and Churchill, but
thank you.
We only need the one. Whatever 10 you wrote down will be fine. Councillor Hanson?
It just seems to be an undemocratic process to me when no other councils have been involved in the region and in the CQ region. So I just don't know how that can come about, that we can nominate someone and we don't know whether there are other councils in the region willing to do the same thing. And then it would be a democratic process then to choose between either or.
So Branthwaite.
Look, I think it's quite nice to be invited to be around the table. There's a lot going on in the region. We don't really know if there's other councils that have been involved or not, but I think when we've actually been singled out and saying, hey, would you like to be around this table, we invite one of your councillors, especially with the likes of calibre of Councillor O'Grady, it's and her passion with it and her knowledge about the whole rail trail scene. But we're a pretty big stakeholder in this as well. So I've got no doubt that North Burnett will be involved. I've got no doubt that Bundaberg will be involved, because it's all in their own backyard. So we're part of the stakeholder side of things as far as I can see, and I just think it's nice to be invited to be around that table, and we're sending the best person to it.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? No, I have a mover in Councillor Trevor, a second in Councillor Branthwaite, and a third nomination by Councillor Churchill. I'm going to put the motion that Councillor O'Grady be, I'll read what it says. Better read it out for those, because it won't be on the screen, will it? It is on the screen, thank you. That Council nominate Councillor O'Grady as the Central Queensland representative to Rail Trails Australia Incorporated. Put the motion. All in favour? Those against? Motion's carried. Thank you, councillors. Back to the agenda. I think there's no other late items. There's no confidential items. No notices of motion. So before I wrap up, I just want to say to our council team and to my council officers and our CEO, our staff, and to the Gladstone region community, Merry Christmas. It's been one hell of a year. I think we've done pretty well to get through it. Obviously, it's been very tough for a lot of people, but I think our council team, and led by the CEO, but we have a fantastic staff doing an amazing job right around the region. I want to thank each and every one of them for what they do, and I want to thank the community for working with us this year, and wish everyone a Merry Christmas, and see you in January next year at the first council meeting. Thank you. I declare the meeting closed at 11:25.
Gladstone Regional Council are committed to fostering a proud, involved and engaged community. The Gladstone Regional Council Community Investment Program provides financial support to local community initiatives, projects and events which promote community connections, regional enhancements, community celebrations and community education. For more information on the Community Investment Program, visit gladstone.qld.gov.au. Gladstone Regional Council. Connect, innovate, diversify.